When you trust your television, what you get is what you got. Because when they own the information, they can bend it all they want. Now, I would sing that to you, but I sing terribly. John Mayer does it way better, and that's a verse from his song, Waiting for the World to Change. You see, our habits lead to the routines in our daily lives. We talk about that a lot. And one of the habits of mine was the very first thing I would do each morning when I got up is I'd walk into my kitchen and I'd turn on the television and I'd start watching the morning news. And each day the headlines would go across the screen and I hear them, I see them, and I think, good Lord, what is wrong with this world? What is wrong with all these people? I began to question my safety, the safety of my children, and if any of us should even leave the house that day. Yeah, I continued to turn on the TV and watch the news each morning. It had become a bad habit, no different than a person who needs a cigarette with the morning coffee. I justified this habit by telling myself things like, well, I need to know what the weather is going to be, or I need to know what's going on in the business world, or I need to stay informed about current events. However, when I started breaking down this bad habit of mine, I realized a few things. For starters, as I stood there watching what I now refer to as the apocalypse du jour, my kids were speaking to me, but I wasn't listening to them. And even worse, I was shushing them because they were distracting me from learning about the 3 people out of the 6 billion on this planet who got a disease I never heard of, but it was surely going to kill us all. And then I noticed that after I pushed my children away, they sat down and they started watching the news with me. And one day I unglued my eyes from the tube for a quick second. I looked over at my 11-year-old and I realized he was literally watching the news with his mouth open. My 9-year-old son, you know, the one I was just shushing a minute earlier, he was asking me why people would put bags over other people's faces and then cut their heads off. My 5-year-old daughter wanted to know if our house was going to be blown away next time it rained. I mean, what the hell was I doing to my family? What the hell was I doing to myself, right? I mean, after ignoring my wife and my kids for 90 minutes, they would leave for the day. I'd jump in the shower, angry, because I never have enough quality time with my family. I never have enough time to exercise. I never have enough time to read. And I also knew there was a pretty good chance that I would get shot, robbed, or beheaded. And if I managed to avoid all of that, surely I'd contract a rare disease, lose my job, or be attacked by an angry grizzly bear that day. And in the off chance that somehow I could avoid all of those risks, what were the odds that my home would still be there by the time I got home at 6 o'clock that night? Fires, earthquakes, tornadoes, tsunamis, I mean, one of them was surely going to hit upstate New York at some point today. Don't think your subconscious mind is doing this? Then I challenge you to take a deeper dive into your thoughts and your mood and your perspective on life after you get done watching the news. Do you ever walk away from that television feeling really positive about things? I didn't, right? So the bottom line is this. The news has a 4-to-1 ratio of negative to positive stories. The news is intentionally sensational because it's a for-profit business. There's an old saying in the news that if it bleeds, it leads, meaning the public tunes in most frequently to see the negative. The more sensational, the longer we watch, and the bigger their profits. But what is the cost to us, right? Focusing on the negative events does powerful things to our psyche. It makes us mad, sad, depressed, but the danger is it subconsciously is teaching us that this ratio of negative to positive is normal. When you turn off the TV and you start tuning in to what is most important in the world, right? For me, it's now I spend those 90 minutes, that window in the morning when I was watching the news, with music on. I talk to my wife and my kids. I read something of personal interest for 15 minutes. I stretch, I do push-ups, I do planks, and by the time they leave at 7:30 in the morning, I jump in the shower in a good mood, excited to take on the day. I cannot be the best version of myself when I'm constantly distracted by negative external factors that are beyond my control. I cannot improve my life and lead and motivate and inspire others when I'm miserable. I'll never be happier, healthier, more positive if I choose to focus on the negatives. And by watching the news, I realized I had created tunnel vision, focusing on too much of the bad. While I was doing so, I was missing so much of the good, and I never even realized I was doing it. So here's my challenge to you. Try it, right? The best advice I can give you is to break the habit and lose the addiction and lose the remote control for a month and see what happens. Like any change or a routine, like breaking any bad habit, this won't be easy, right? However, anything worth having is worth working for. If you are serious about becoming a happier, more positive, healthier person, the easiest way to do it is to ditch negativity in your life and lose that remote control.